So welcome everyone. We're excited to talk with Kim Conrow about the importance of using native plants in your gardens and lawns. If you have any questions, you can post them in the chat or in the Q&A box, and we'll get to them at the end of the program. So let me start by introducing Kim. She has been a resident of North Texas for over 50 years and is currently volunteering as the president of the Native Plant Society of Texas. She is a Texas Master Naturalist and a member of the Native Prairie Association of Texas and several other conservation organizations. Over the last several years, she has helped to establish 4 monarch way stations in Tarrant County. She has been gardening with native plants for over 20 years. So Kim, I am going to turn off my camera, turn it over to you, and then I'll come back at the end for audience questions.
All right. Thank you so much, Jennifer. All right, so I will share my screen. Thank y'all very much for coming today, and I want to thank the City of Fort Worth for inviting me to speak on Earth Day. Just a little bit about Earth Day. Earth Day was started in 1970 by a man named John McConnell from the United States, and it was originally held on the annual celebration of the March equinox. Many people still celebrate it on that day. Next weekend, the Botanical Research Institute will be speaking, so you want to be sure to come to that. All right, and then the Fort Worth Public Library is sponsoring this. So I'm the president of the Native Plant Society of Texas, and our mission is promoting conservation, research, and utilization of native plants and plant habitats of Texas through education, outreach, and example. And today, of course, Jennifer told you, I'll be talking about some Texas native plants, their importance in our environment, and how gardening with them can help our local environment. This is a photograph of my front yard. It's a certified wildlife habitat. There's self-certifications by the National Wildlife Federation and Monarch Watch as a monarch way station. So here you have a photograph of Earth. It's a real photograph, and that's from the Cassini spacecraft taken of Earth. We're the little dot there near the east, so very far away out in space from Saturn. This is the picture from Saturn, so rings of Saturn. And here's another picture of Earth taken 3.7 billion miles away. This was taken on February 14th at the request of astronomer Carl Sagan. NASA commanded the spacecraft Voyager 1 to turn around and take one last photograph of Earth before it left our solar system. Sagan coined the term the pale blue dot to describe how the Earth looked as a tiny dot in a band of sunlight reflected by the camera. And in 2020, the image was remastered for the 30th anniversary of the image, and NASA published a new version of the original one, the pale blue dot revisited. So this was obtained using modern processing techniques. So here we are on this pale blue dot in a little band of sunlight as seen from 3.7 billion miles away. Earth is our home, the only home we have. And life on Earth has been in the making, as we know it today, has been in the making for 4.5 billion years. Here you can see the thin blue atmosphere we have. It's called, I just spaced on what I was going to say. Anyway, pictures of Earth from the moon, and then a picture of the dark side of the moon. How cool is that? Everything we've ever known is made up of of elements. And here's a hydrogen atom. So that's the smallest little atom. So everything that's ever been done on Earth is made up of these, and we're just always rearranging them in many ways to make what we know as life. We have the carbon cycle. So we have a complex, in 4.5 billion years, we've developed this amazing complex life that's involving all these cycles. So there's the carbon cycle. I'm not going to go into it in any detail. We have the hydrologic cycle. So water, H2O, moves in and through living things. Nitrogen has many different pathways to travel through living things. And carbon dioxide and water, of course, are through the amazing process of photosynthesis. Takes a sun's energy and changes that into sugars and oxygen. So the very part of our energy system, how we build molecules in our bodies, and what we breathe. We're all connected to Earth here, and we celebrate that on Earth Day. See, we've developed aquatic food webs, terrestrial food webs, and in the ocean, of course, the plants are the phytoplankton in the open ocean. So we have food webs, soil food webs, forest food webs, mangrove food webs, prairie food webs, desert food webs. It's a complex cycle of just moving everything around and keeping things going, moving energy, moving molecules. And who is best to do that, to start that with photosynthesis, but native plants? So my real focus today, after that Earth Day introduction, is to focus on these different aspects of what native plants can do for us. And the first thing that they can do for us is give us a sense of place. A sense of place geographically, so a physical place, and a sense of place seasonally. In time, where are we in time? And we're right here in Texas. And these are 10 ecoregions for level 3 ecoregions. We're a really big state, and we have a lot of different ecoregions that are designated by, or really, by the soil type, the wind, the rainfall, the geologic forces that happened over time, and what plants and animals are seen in these different places. So that's how we have divided our state up, and we have many different ecosystems that can, and when you look at the plants, they can tell you where you're at. So let's go into that. Okay, it won't move. And by the way, there's the pale blue dot. Oh, it did move. Yay. It's spring. How do we know it's spring? Well, if somebody just plopped you here a couple weeks ago, you would have found the red buds blooming. So you know it's spring. That gives you the sense of time. Very close to the vernal equinox. And that is a Texas redbud. So that's something you can find naturally in north central Texas in the cross timbers and prairies ecoregion. And bluebonnets. Well, these beautiful lupines, they tell us we're in Texas, right? I'm sure there are other places, but we like to think of them as our plants. And this is early spring because bluebonnets are an early spring bloomer. And they help us give us a sense of place and time. Another wonderful early spring bloomer is the Texas blue star. And you can find them in the prairie trail. This is a naturally occurring pristine prairie near Lake Benbrook. It's an environmentally sensitive area. So if you go there, you need to be respectful of that, stay on the trail and don't pollute. And here's another couple photographs close up of the blue star. I just love this plant. Here's another plant that says early spring, and it's the Engelmann Daisy, also called the cutleaf daisy. And here it is in the in celebration with bluebonnets and prairie verbena, and I see some Gara there on the walkway into our home. And so when we see this, we know spring is on its way, or is here. Spring is here. And the Engelmann Daisy, by the way, was almost our state flower because it really can be found all around the state. You know you're in Texas, I guess, if you see that. Here's a couple plants that can tell us it's spring. So Gaillardia, here also known as Indian blanket. I'm sorry, spring, summer. We're in summer now. The trumpet vine, which blooms pretty much all summer, not needing hardly any water, and is loved by our bees, is also a summer plant. That's going to tell us we're in summer. Another plant that is a long season bloomer and great in your garden is the Greg's blue mist flower, Coneflowers gregii, and it's a butterfly magnet. If you ever want to have butterflies in your garden, be sure you have some of this. Now, some people might say, oh, it spreads too much, but I find it to be very polite. And if you pull it up, just move it to some other place in your garden, pot it up, and if you're in the Native Plant Society, you can take it to our plant sale or give it to your friends. And so you can see a monarch and then, oh, I'm drawing a blank on that butterfly right now, sorry. Here's some other plants that are wonderful in our gardens. You can see the coneflowers here. If you were walking around in nature and you saw that, you might think, I'm in East Texas. Or if you see the center plant here, the Esperanza, known as yellow bells, you could say to yourself, gosh, am I on the Edwards Plateau in the middle of Texas? Or here with this pink flower, that's a nice little shrub called autumn sage or Greg Salvia. Happy about that, Karina? It's Karina's favorite plant, so I have to mention it. So if you saw this one and you were in Texas 100 years ago, you would think, I'm just in one or two little counties in central Texas. But Greg Salvia has been in the nursery trade for over 100 years. So it's in all our gardens now, but it's okay because it's a Texas native and it's not going to be invasive and it's not aggressive. So it's a wonderful plant to have. All of these are wonderful plants, and in the field, they can give you a sense of place. So you might be in East Texas or Central Texas, or you might be in my backyard. Now, here's a plant that I absolutely love. It's a great garden plant if you put it in the right spot. It's a Maximilian sunflower. It can grow 2 to 3 to 7 feet tall. If you have this in your garden, don't water it. Please don't water it. That's when it's going to get 7 to maybe 10 feet tall. And it nourishes, I think there's a little insect over there. It nourishes all kinds of animals. And this plant can also tell you that it's fall. So this is an indicator of a season. Love this plant. Here's another one of my very favorite garden plants. It's bee balm, and this was gifted to me by my friend Don Hancock in the North Central chapter of the Native Plant Society. And I have now moved it all around my yard. I love it. This is what it looks like in June. It blooms once. It is a cross-temperate and prairies, which is our ecoregion native plant. So here you have it in a single blooming season, and bee balm. Bees love it. Butterflies love it. And here's what it will look like. It's the center plant in here, so don't let this confuse you. At the top and bottom is Coneflowers gregii, but in the center, which is the blue mist flower, but in the center is the bee balm or Monarda fistulosa. So this is what it looks like throughout the summer, and it just hangs out with these really interesting little seed pods, looking great. And then come December, holy cow. Does this say the holidays? It looks like they put on a necklace. I just love this plant. So it's offering just this beautiful 3-season look. And so I let it just enjoy itself after it blooms. And then as it starts to green up again in the spring is when I'll cut down those seed stalks. And here's some bur oaks. So you can tell on the sunset, these are both sunset pictures, but you can tell here on the left that it's summer. They have so many leaves on them. It's a summer picture. And on the right, of course, that's winter. You can see the stars in the sky. Might be talking too fast. Anyway, native plants also help us have a diverse habitat, a biodiverse habitat. And that's what you want. You want a great diversity in your yard. You want a lot of different native plants. You want to mix them up. You can put, make a polyculture, and we'll see some of that here in a little while. So you can see, this is just a sampling. These were all taken in my yard. And you can see the wonderful variety of life that you can have. Some of these are fall bloomers. On the left here, this purple, that's fall blooming aster. And then above it with the bee, with that little ball collecting all that pollen to take back to everybody, or to her own little nest, more than likely, since this is not it's a single solitary bee. Then we have spring and summer, and oh my gosh, look up over here on the upper right. That's a butterfly. That's a sulfur butterfly on a Turk's cap. And then you see a bee there in the center. So there's caterpillar. It's just wonderful. You have all these different plants in your garden, and they give you a sense of place, that you're in Texas, that you're in a beautiful natural environment. You get a lot of life happening, and the seasons are changing. So what's better than that? So be happy if you see in your garden here, we have a mockingbird eating the berries of the possum haw. We call this fellow half-bill, since he had a problem with his bill, but he seemed to do fine. And then we have the squirrels there that are eating the possum haw berries. So of course, if something's not eating your plants, then your garden's not part of the ecosystem. So really be happy when your caterpillars are eating plants. They're just baby bird food and bird food otherwise. Here's some carpenter bees gathering pollen on the my husband's whispering something at me. I can't hear you.
Passion flower.
I know, it's right there. It says Passiflora incarnata. He was telling me what plant that was. It's a passion flower. It's a vine. It can spread. Be sure if you put that somewhere you want it to just go crazy. And how cool is that flower? It looks like it's from outer space. Then over here on the other side is Sclepious Vertis. That's a milkweed. So it's the host plant for the monarch caterpillar. And you can see that other things also like it very much. This was from our week of snowpocalypse when Yuri came to visit us. And on that same possum haw that you saw the that you saw the mockingbird, Texas state bird, and the squirrel, you see this mixed flock of birds that came to visit us one day, and they cleaned out 4 possum haws and a weeping yaupon in probably about an hour. I was very surprised. They were very hungry, but I was happy that I had something to feed them. And here's a quick video. Oh my goodness, so we've got this huge mixed flock going here. And they're hitting the window, so we're gonna put some blue tape on it. They usually don't hit this window. Here we go. Yeah, that was horrifying. They were hitting the window. I have reflective butterflies on most of my windows so that birds won't hit them. And not on these though, but we'll have to get some. But there's one really flying. Anyway, they really enjoyed our garden. It helped keep them alive. We have cedar waxwings there. You can see the robins. And then at the end, a little bluebird came along. So the bluebird was probably in the mix, and I didn't see it till the end there. Man, that was cold. And then our poor little resident mockingbird came back and said, "Where's all my food?" I think they're okay. Another thing that native plants do is they give us a sense of well-being. They help us stay mentally healthy. They establish a beautiful aesthetic, which is something that's beautiful. It makes us feel good. We appreciate it. Native plants can do that for us. The North Central chapter of the Native Plant Society of Texas has 9 gardens, 9 demonstration gardens in Tarrant County. One of the resource pages that you'll get from Jennifer, we'll send it to you, will have this list on it, so you don't need to copy it down or anything, but you are welcome to take a screenshot of anything if you want to. But these are wonderful places to go to help you learn about native plants, to help you learn how to garden with native plants. And each garden that has a different lead gardener has its own flavor. They're very interesting how they're designed differently. So you can find the work days and go and work here in these gardens and learn from the masters. Here's a day that I went out with my book club to the Wildscape in Arlington, and Ann Knudsen was kind enough to give us a tour. We're so excited. So we spent some time there, and this was the closest we got together for the photograph. But we socially distanced and we had our masks on, so we were staying safe and healthy. And Ann showed us around the garden for about an hour, and we went to a little pocket prairie. We also went to Eric Strickland's home garden. I wish I'd put pictures of that in this program. He was starting this wonderful home garden not far from the Wildscape. And he has a large acreage there that gets a lot of plants for. It's just beautiful. So hopefully more and more people will be gardening in their home. Anyway, if you haven't been to the Wildscape, you need to. Molly Holler, who is a Texas gem of a woman, just started this probably 20 or 30 years ago. I'm actually not sure. Anne will know. So what a wonderful thing to do, to go visit. They have good signage there to educate the public. You can see the trail system. And you can go and work and learn about how that Wildscape works. We also have a volunteer project at the Hewlin Library at in Southwest Fort Worth. And this is a great place to get a book, sit in the shade. That looks really sunshiny there, but it's in the shade for part of the day. And there's amazing life there. It's a very tidy, beautiful little garden. And they expanded in the last couple of years. They were just on one side of the library, and they've expanded now to go all the way around the library. So as you go in and out, you'll see native plants and how beautiful they are. Here's a nap garden, and this is in Arlington. This can demonstrate how you can make this look like a English cottage garden. You can do anything you want with native plants. The plants don't define the garden, the design does. And then the plants fill in the design. So Josephine Keeney is responsible for this, and she has a nice work crew out. And it's great. I love this. I love these pictures that Josephine sent me to show. The pollinator garden on the left is in spring with a nice box blooming. And that's the exact same spot that you see over here on the right in the summer. I mean, that's the same sign. So sense of place, the seasons change. It's bright, it's alive, it's colorful. So much better than just a little lawn. Doesn't that make you happy? Josephine just can't stop gardening. I can't blame her. It's a wonderful hobby and passion. So there's a new garden starting in Random Mills, so you can go and see that one grow from the beginnings. And the River Legacy Park, this is an educational center. If you've never been there, it's a wonderful, large park along the river, Trinity River. And these photographs show the front and back side of the same garden. And there's the wonderful chapter sign, that our new chapter signs that say it's the North Central chapter of the Native Plant Society that maintains this garden. So as you can see, gardens can be all different sizes and shapes. And here's the Fielder garden. This one is just a wonderful cacophony of plants and life. And before the pandemic, Josephine used to give butterfly lectures there in the summer. And I certainly hope that she takes that up again when we can all get back together. So this is what native plants can do. They can transform lifeless areas into places where the birds, butterflies, bees, and other creatures find the food, shelter, and water. And then we can find places, welcoming places of beauty and relaxation and joy. Both of these photographs were taken in my garden. This is in a front area, And these little birds were nested where I could reach them. Those are mockingbirds. You can see this little pouty fella hasn't opened his mouth yet. Those are 3 little mockingbirds. They thought my phone was their mother bringing them something to eat, which would have been a caterpillar because they can't eat much else. So caterpillars are bird food, baby birds food. If you want to have birds, if you want your garden to be part of the cycle of life, don't worry about your plants if they have caterpillar damage. They'll be okay. They're native plants. They're used to that. And when we change our concept of what's aesthetic and we come to realize how it's beautiful that the plants are being consumed by caterpillars because they're providing life for birds and lizards and frogs and then larger mammals, possums. Possums eat ticks. We all know that now because of memes. Anyway, sorry, that was kind of random. So what else are native plants? They're drought tolerant. They're natural. All right. We really need to go back to nature here. Here on the prairie, these drought tolerant plants have deep, deep roots. Here's a couple pictures I just sort of snatched off the internet, but this one's fabulous. This illustration showing you the feet. I mean, my goodness, look how Maximilian sunflower, it's the 1, 2, 3, 4th plant from the left, goes down 15 feet, even like a little mealy blue sage. Can you believe that? It's the first little one, tiny little, look how no roots on that grass. That might as well be St. Augustine or Bermuda or something. They don't have deep roots, so they don't draw water. When it rains, these deep-rooted plants draw water down into our water table, and they sustain our aquifers. They sustain our riparian areas. They keep our creeks and streams and reservoirs full of nice fresh water instead of having it all run quickly off and, hit the flood and what have you. You want native plants in your yard. This is what they can do. And they're beautiful. Oh my goodness, so beautiful. So large rooted plants, even if it looks like it's only a 2-foot high plant right there, look how deep those roots can go. So here's what they look like in a photograph. The one on the upper left with the gay feather or lytris, that's in my backyard. So we mow our backyard in January, once a year. That's what we do. And if all my neighbors had done that, we've lived here for 24 years. And what they did, because they thought they needed to, is they mowed their beautiful prairie to death. But as we know from different experiments, if they'll just quit mowing, the prairie can come back to life. The seeds are in the bank there. So you can bring this back if you quit mowing it and maybe just mow once a year. So here's the beautiful lytris. They're here. The monarchs are going to find them, as well as the Maximilian sunflower back there. The picture here on the upper left is from Tandy Hills. And you can see Fort Worth in the background. And that plant, which I also have in my front yard, is that with the white flowers, is a prairie plant with deep roots, and it's Gara, and it's a tall grass prairie plant because those flowers can get up to 5 to 6 to 7 feet, and they're just gorgeous. They wave in the wind, and they very happy. And then here in the center is my friend Gwen. We had walked at the Southwest Prairie Preserve in Arlington that day. We started walking in the pandemic, and we have walked and walked and walked, and it has been so healthy and so stabilizing. And it's something that I don't know why I didn't find the time to walk that much before, but I'm not going to stop. It's wonderful. And here's Fort Worth Prairie. It's the Grand Prairie. Fort Worth is where the Grand Prairies really start now. If you go much east, they're urbanized, they're gone, they're not there. This area is near Sid Richardson's land. It's a beautiful, beautiful place that I hope is preserved forever for people and for the biodiversity of our planet. anyway, we enjoyed this. One of our walks. You can tell it was still cold that day. And then maybe not a week or two later, we went out walking out here, and spring had started with the 10-petal anemone on the first photograph, and then astragalus, and then crow's feet. No, that's not it. Crow's poison. Crow's feet. That's what you have here. Crow's feet. Okay, sorry. So what native plants connect us to things that are almost unbelievable and beyond understanding, and monarch migration. These pictures were all taken in my garden. So the monarchs these were fall pictures. Here on the right is a frostweed. If you don't have frostweed as a shade plant, you need it. It's a wonderful shade plant, and it helps to fuel the migration. Then in the center is goldenrod. What a beautiful photograph that is. Ray took that, my husband. And then they had these wonderful roosts in hackberries. I have bur oaks, all kinds of other native plants, but they seem to just want to roost in the hackberries. So that was interesting. And this year we had, for about a week, every night, we probably had hundreds of monarchs in our yard, and then they were gone, just like that. So connecting you to natural cycles, that natural migratory cycle is amazing. Another cycle that getting out in nature can connect you to is our lunar cycle, which is much shorter than the migratory cycle of the monarch. So get out with your friends. The prairie is a great place to get because that's what we have here. We also have cross timbers, which you'll see more say up at the Nature Center in Fort Worth or in Arlington at Molly Holler. But it's very healthy. It's been a fun time walking with dogs on leash in natural areas. You do want to keep your dogs on leash and respect nature that way, and take your bags to pick up, because that stuff shouldn't be in a natural area. But it's been a wonderful time. Makes you feel good. Spring. These are recent photographs from the Benbrook Prairie, which is an environmentally sensitive area. I think I already said that. In water. So the native plants are keeping these waterways healthy, right? By slowing down water, you're not getting a lot of water rushing into them with soil polluting them and making the water where it's not clear and clean for the animals that need that on the bottom of the creeks and streams. That's a fall blooming aster right there, naturally. Isn't that gorgeous? That's in Crowley Bicentennial Park, and this other one is on the East Dutch Branch Creek, also just about to go to the Sid Richardson Slough. And this is a fall picture. This is butterfly bush. That's not it. Button bush. Thank you. Brain got that. Naturally occurring on the stream. And then here we are on one of our walks. There's Karina and Ray and Lisa and Gwen. And Gwen, I think, was unhappy because, bless her heart, she was so kind to pick up other people's trash. So part of celebrating our earth, right, is don't pollute. Remember, give a hoot, don't pollute. So don't do that, because you'll make Gwen sad because she'll have to pick up your trash. And here's another problem we have on our waterways, though, because we're celebrating Earth Day and we want to be sure that we care about the earth. This is just upstream from those pictures. That's an algal bloom. And you can see that it's not even spring. So why do we have an algal bloom? Well, we have it because where this creek starts is in a neighborhood. Right up here, all these people, and when this water feeds down into this little creek, into the stream, and then goes into the Benbrook Lake, it's polluted by fertilizer. And not only does fertilizer go in there, pesticides go in there. Herbicides go in there. And the truth is, if you use native plants in your garden, you don't need any of that. And the algal bloom won't happen. Too high phosphates and nitrates are causing this, and it really is bad for the ecology of the riparian life. So let's not do that, y'all. Really? Because here we go. If you're not dressing like this, you shouldn't have a yard like that. And here's ways you can self-educate yourself. These are 2 books that if you join as a new member to the North Central chapter of the Native Plant Society, you can have your choice of one of those books. Take them up on it, y'all. It's worth it. So this is what your garden should look like. Has a little skirt mow. I don't think it's mowed very often. And it's a beautiful polyculture of plants. And you can see where we're starting to respect that. My friend Lisa's yard won the Wedgwood South Yard of the Month as this beautiful native garden. I just love it. And she's got a backyard garden that's pretty cool too. Here you can see that this concept of skirt mowing, you can see it at Britt, around the Britt facility. And here you can see that George and Laura Bush did that at their Crawford Ranch. So they did a mowing near the house, and then out from that, they just let it be natural, because you never know what kinds of beautiful, wonderful wildlife you might be supporting that's out there. Got to care for all that stuff. Fort Worth has an open spaces initiative happening at this time, and it's wrapping up. They've done a lot of studies. They're concerned about community health and streams and rivers and creeks health, flood control, ecosystem preservation. In all their surveys, they found that the citizens really cared a lot about ecosystem preservation. So thank you, citizens of Fort Worth, who have weighed in on this and told our governmental leaders, our representatives, local representatives, that we care about open spaces. At the Fort Worth Zoo along the Trinity River, they've also done a fun little grow zone of Texas native plants. So you can see that. This is a fall picture. So sorry, and there's a little invasive plant there, some mustard plant from Eurasia. So we'd have to pull that out. But they're working it. They're starting it. It's educational opportunity too for students there that they teach. You can run over to the Tinsa Garden at the Fort Worth Botanic Britt Garden Grow. I'm not sure what to call it, but and they have a wonderful garden there. Here's a lot of the plants are labeled, so you can walk around through all the seasons and see plants that you might like. Here's the fruit of the Turk's Cap. So it's a native habitat restoration area, and you want to stay on the paths, which you generally want to do most places anyway. And here you can see, don't tell, we gorilla gardened. We saw the south thistle, and it was really big. It was going to seed, and we couldn't help ourselves. Ray pulled it out and put it in the trash. Yay, that's one of my most hated invasive plants. Here's a fall blooming aster that was seen in the garden there. Is that gorgeous? When we got our COVID shots at the Resource Connection, which is, you can see the little tents there, they had a small pollinator garden, and they had these great little habitat signs out. Some of them were in Spanish, which I was so excited to see, reaching out to all the people in the community. So you can make a garden anywhere. They have a little shade here. Hopefully they'll expand where they have the native plants over time. And if you're wanting to find plants for your spring sale, for your spring garden, go to our website, the Native Plant Society's website, and there's a huge list with links to them. The local chapter is having a May 8th sale. So you can go to the local chapter's website and find out about the May 8th sale. Here's some Facebook pages that I highly recommend. The Native Plant Society state page, our North Central chapter page. Gosh, it's got like almost 4,000 people on it. I wish they would all join the society. Wouldn't that be great? Texas Flora is a Facebook page where if you need, it's more for the scientific and get identifications of native plants in Texas. Wonderful people on there were really helpful and so smart. And then here's one that is a nationwide called Pollinator Friendly Yards. Leslie Inman runs that, and oh my goodness, she's just the queen of memes. I think she's just a genius. So she's always making up new memes and putting them on her Pollinator Friendly Yards on Facebook page. The Luna Moth, I saw a post recently. Someone said, "Oh dear, after my landscapers came and raked out all my leaves, we found these baby eggs." And I'm like, why did you rake your leaves out? Because you might have been raking out the Luna Moth there. I mean, you can't tell that from a leaf. Nature's going to decompose the leaves, and they're mulch. You don't need to rake them out. So anyway, these are Leslie Inman on Pollinator Friendly Yards. There's a lot of quoting from people. And if you're not familiar with E.O. Wilson, he's written about a book a year for his, I think he's 90 now. And he's an amazing human being. So we also, Fort Worth is a great city because Mayor Betsy Price has signed the Mayor's Monarch Pledge, I think, every year. I'm not sure about last year because, that was an off year. But there was a group formed by the National Wildlife Federation called the Fort Worth Pollinator Ambassadors. And so both governmental and non-governmental organizations came together to promote the Mayor's Monarch Pledge, to help awareness, educate the public, and to actually physically put in monarch way stations. I helped put in 4, I think, in 2 years. So it's been a wonderful initiative. And there's a Facebook page, so you can look that up, Fort Worth Pollinator Ambassadors Facebook page. Another wonderful thing that Fort Worth is doing is signing on to dark skies. During the spring, we really need to have lights out at home, in our cities. We need to have the proper lighting so that we don't have these harmful effects on animals. So now we're kind of getting back into how can we help with Earth Day. The International Dark Sky Week, well, we're April 10th, so dark sky, turn out your lights. Fort Worth is doing it. So there's lots of things, not just native plants, but it's all connected. If you don't have to be a member of the Native Plant Society to participate in our programs. We're a 501c3, so we are open to the public. If you are a member, though, you can get discounts. And if you join the North Central chapter, you can choose one of those books. we look at our website under education for our native. It's actually landscape certification program. We have 4 levels. You have to take the first one before you can take any of the others. And they're wonderful educational classes. Landscaping people really should be taking them because native plants is the future of gardening. It's where we need to go to save our planet, to save the insects and ourselves. No insects, no food. The Native Plant Partners is a nursery program partnership that is part of the Native Plant Society. We're trying to make it more statewide and include growers. Good things to come. Stay tuned. And the Bring Back the Monarchs to Texas program is a small garden grant program. It's been going on now for about 7 years. Carol Clark is the chair of that. She does an amazing job. And they did, I think, 42 small garden grants this year. So you have to submit a good plan, a good design, have a maintenance schedule, include host plants, which is milkweed for the monarch, and 3 seasons of nectar plants. And you can apply for a garden grant. We have 7 chapters in the North Central area, so you can find those on our state website and see which one's closest to you that you might want to join. And we're almost done. So Earth Day started in 1970, so that was 50 years ago. And we're just this little planet out there. I think, to paraphrase Carl Sagan, everyone that's ever lived and loved and died, right there on that little planet out in space. That's all we have. We have to take care of it. It's Earth. It's our mother. It's really an interesting concept to think about. All the matter is just been moving around for 4.5 billion years. And now we're consciousness that can understand it and take care of it. And we want to pass that on to our children in a good shape, in good form, and to their children and their children's children. So it's the garden, it's earth, and it's best done in native plants that are native to your region, your state, your continent, but better local. And I could talk for another hour about invasive plants, but that would be a bummer. So I just want to say, use native plants and not exotic plants in your garden, and things will be better. So that's the end of my program. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm going to stop sharing now. If I can figure out how to do that. Here we go. I should be able to.
All right. And we have got some questions that have been coming in.
Okay.
So I am going to start with those. Let me scroll up here. Hold on. All right. So the first question was, what is the best time to plant Texas blue bonnet seeds?
Fall. You want to put them out in the fall. You can put them out in September, October, November. They have a hard seed coat, and it may take them 2 or 3 years to germinate, but fall.
Can you tell me why the Texas Texas redbud tree has red in the name when the blossoms are purple?
No. I cannot tell you that. They're kind of, maybe they're really deep pink. Mine look pink, but they have a really deep color before they open. Maybe that's it. I don't know. Good question.
What is the purple blossom plant in your yard?
That might have been a prairie verbena. It could have been the bee balm. Kind of bluish purple. I don't know which one this.
It was early on in the presentation, so it was in one of the photos that you'd shown.
Okay, maybe Coneflowers greggii, blue mist flower, looks purple.
Can you describe the NICE program, Natives Improve and Conserve Environments?
Yes, the NICE program is a chapter-based program where chapters partner with nurseries that sell native plants, and hopefully not common exotic plants. The program started as natives instead of common exotics. And we found that, excuse me, we found that, that just seemed to be a negative. So we changed the meaning of the acronyms to native instead of natives conserve and improve environments. And so it's a partnership with local nurseries. We want to increase patronage of nurseries that grow native plants. And if you go to these places and you buy native plants, and that increases native plants not only in the ground, so that helps our environment, but it tells the growers that we want native plants. So it's a cycle of just making it more. Does that make sense? Oh, and with the North Central chapter, most of our partners here will give members a 10% discount with your membership card.
And do you have a list of those partners on the website?
Yes, those are on the state website and the local website.
And I did put a link in the chat for everyone to their website. So, which milkweeds are Texas natives?
I'm going to give you a link in one of the resources to the Texas Department of TPWD. My brain, anyway, Texas Parks and Wildlife Department. There you go. They have a downloadable PDF guide on milkweeds around the state, where they occur, and what they look like. So Esclepius Esparula, the antelope horns, is our common one here that grows in sort of the thin, dry, alkaline soil. And then Asclepius Vertis, which is green milkweed, can grow more in our deeper areas. I've seen them together growing not far apart. So those are the two common ones in our area. But you'll get a link to that PDF. And the resources you'll get later.
Sorry. What was the name for mowing around the native garden?
Skirt mowing. So you want to do skirt mowing. You want your garden, especially in the front yard, to look planned. Because if you don't make it look planned, then the compliance department is going to come out and they're going to give you a hassle and all that. But if you like have a little skirt, and honestly, you don't even have to water or fertilize that stuff. You could put frog fruit out there and have it be low to the ground. That's a nice native plant I didn't highlight, which is a ground cover. There's another nice ground cover that'll grow in the shade, which is horse herb. So you could have a lawn of frog fruit and horse herb, and then pretend you mow that, and you actually can mow those things, and then have your bed. So skirt mowing around the garden and by your house too. A lot of people don't want tall plants by their house, and all those tall bushes and stuff by your house, get rid of those. You don't want that either.
What is the address for the Wildscape?
Oh my goodness. You'll get it in a resource page. I don't have it off the top of my head. I'm sorry. You'll get a page with that.
Yeah. And what will happen is Kim is going to send me those resources this afternoon. And by Monday, I'll pull a list of everyone who attended. And I have your email addresses, and I'll email those out to you. Do you have a time? Do you have to sign up for a time slot this year for the sale?
I think so, but I'm not certain.
So check out their website for that information.
Yeah.
Let's see. Can you recommend native plants for shade?
Yes. Golden groundsel is an early spring bloomer, so that would be good to come up early. Frostweed is blooming in the fall. Horse herb is a low ground cover. Gosh, Karina, what's the name of that plant? I'm forgetting right out there that Lisa gave us.
Heartleaf skullcap.
Oh, heartleaf skullcap. Only plant that if you want it to naturalize and just take over your shady area. But man, it'll do that. Was that enough?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. And then
oh, I see Avon Burton says, yes, we'll need to sign up. Thank you, Avon.
yeah. So, and then the nursery, same thing with the next question is, what nurseries have the native plant sale? Go to their website to check out. And somebody has actually put the link in the chat for those partner nurseries and the time slot. All right.
Excellent.
So I think that is, we have one last question. Somebody is just suggesting a class on invasives, which I think is a great idea. And I'm going to make a note for that. I will also tell you that in the summer, we are going to have some crafting classes to learn how to make paper from invasive plants. So we have somebody who's going to come out and do those. We're going to, we don't have set dates for them yet because COVID, because we're going to do them outside because it requires a lot of water and it's kind of messy. And then I'm going to also put a link in here. If you're interested in coming into next week's program with the Brit, this is the registration link to sign up for that. It will be at the same time next Saturday, the 17th. And we just want to thank everybody for coming out, and thank you, Kim, for a great, lots of great information. And y'all enjoy the rest of your Saturday.
Can I say one last thing?
Sure.
Now's the time to get that mustard called cabbage that we get off the roadsides and out of your neighborhoods before it seeds. It's an annual. There. Invasive plants. We do need a class on that. You know what we need on that, Jennifer, is a state level vice president for that.
Okay.
It's a real problem. I think we need to do that in the Native Plant Society. So if you'd like to volunteer to be on that committee, let me know.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday.
Thank you. Thanks for
All right,
coming.
bye.
Bye-bye.